Joining us is the founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC, Howie Klein. He writes Down with Tyranny. Everybody should go to Down with Tyranny each day. We have some good news in Nevada. You're writing that we may be able to keep Catherine Masto's seat?
Yeah, I mean, it would be very unlikely that Adam Laxalt would take that seat. I never really thought he would, but a new polling from a fairly decent firm, OH. People think they're an Ohio firm. They're not. They're an Arizona firm, which is right next door to Nevada, and they do a good job. Anyway, they show the Democrats sweeping every single statewide office. So yes, the Senate, she's ahead by 2 points. The governor, the incumbent governor, is ahead by 4 points. The attorney general, it's an open seat. He's ahead by a lot of points. The secretary of state. Now, that was a dangerous one because he's running against not just a complete MAGA loon, Jim Marchant, but Marchant also organized all the other crazy people who are running for Secretary of State around the whole country. He organized them to, literally steal elections. Right. So he's going to lose. And I don't know if you remember Michelle Fiore. Do you remember, does that name ring a bell?
No.
She was a lunatic who's been running for office forever. She managed to get into the state legislature, but I think she ran against Harry Reid one time. She ran for governor. She ran for Congress. She runs for everything. And she's, I described her as a dangerous mental case, which she is, but she's also she's a liar. I saw her at the MAGA rally. Yes, go ahead. Definitely a MAGA person, but she was the first one, so she has a little originality, to send out a Christmas card of everyone in her family holding some kind of an automatic weapon, including the little children. So, and all other Republicans have now followed that. And if you want to be a part of the Republican Party, you have to send out a Christmas card with your family all holding guns. So, but she was in any case, she's losing. She's running for the Senate now. She's got 25% of the vote.
She's running for treasurer, you mean?
And I mean treasurer, yes. She's running for the treasurer.
Right.
She would have run for Senate, but another lunatic stepped in before she could. Adam Laxalt.
Right. And do you know who Adam Laxalt's father is?
Yes, of course. Adam Laxalt's father was in the Godfather as a corrupt piece of shit U.S. senator. I bet you didn't know that, did you?
Senator Geary.
Yes, that's right.
But wait. You may not know the
Adam Laxalt's father.
No, his real father is Pete Domenici. Am I actually telling you something that you don't know?
Well, what do you mean by real? Did Pete Domenici rape his mother or something? He has a real father named Laxalt.
Right, but Paul Laxalt, the senator, is his grandfather.
The grandfather. Oh, all right.
But
got that wrong.
His mother had an affair with Pete Domenici, the senator the Republican from New Mexico, and Adam Laxalt is born out of.
Popped out.
He popped out.
Now, how do we know that? Do they admit that?
Yes, they Pete Domenici finally admitted the paternity, and Adam Laxalt, the big family values Republican, is a
bastard.
I didn't want to call him a bastard, but I think if you're the product of a adulterous affair and you're a Republican who wants to cut funding for food stamps, you're a bastard. I think that qualifies you as a bastard. Wait a second. So I gave you in the 10 years that we've been doing this, I gave you some gossip.
You did.
Oh, this is fantastic. Something new. So that's good news coming out of Nevada. You sound upbeat in terms of what? What are you seeing nationwide now?
Well, what I tried to explain several times on various posts over the last couple of weeks is that it doesn't really matter. The nationwide numbers don't matter. And I'm going to try to explain why. It's not easy for me to explain it in a way that people will understand it. But let's start with Alabama, Okay, so Alabama has, I think, 5 Republican seats and 1 Democratic seat. It's set. They gerrymandered the state so that, you know, little tentacles reach out to every African American neighborhood in the state, and so they're all in one district, and that's a heavily Democratic district. All of the other districts, you know, you're not allowed in unless you're white. They're all white districts. They're rural white districts. So all of those districts are Republican. Now, if those districts were Republican by, say, 60%, so 60% Republican, 40% Democrat, it would show up as very strongly on the polling as 60% Republican, and that's a big deal. But suppose they went up to 70%, which they have. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. That means that the Republicans nationally in that state are going to influence the aggregate for the generic polling, and that's what's happening. And it's happening in a lot of, not just Alabama, but it's happening in all the red states. They're all getting motivated and they're going nuts. Whereas in the Democratic states, I don't see it as much. You know, there's not a change, but the change is in the Republican states. So what do we see? What we're seeing is national numbers that are reflecting this kind of action, and the numbers are going up. Now, why is that not that important? And that's because in the individual swing districts in all over the country, the Democrats are very, very much holding their own. And I can't believe that the pollsters aren't bringing that up. I don't know why they're not bringing it up, but they're not. Some of the pollsters and the prognosticators, but the pollsters are giving those numbers. I mean, I'm not going out polling. I'm getting my numbers from various polls, including 538, which aggregates polls. And what I'm seeing is that the Democrats in tough swing districts, I'm not saying they're going to win every one of them, but they're not going to lose every one of them either. They're doing quite well, better than I thought they would. Like I'll just give an example. In New Mexico, there's one Republican district. It got a little more friendly towards Democrats this cycle, but there is a Republican congresswoman named Yvette Herrell, a MAGA idiot. And no one thought that the Democrat running against her had any shot. Well, guess what? There was a poll that came out a few days ago that showed him winning. And, you know, people said, oh, it's an outlier. It doesn't mean anything. Another poll came out today from a completely different source, nothing to do with the first one, showing him winning. Now, it's not a landslide. It's a very close race. But this is a big deal for a Democrat in so-called Republican wave election. For a Democrat to oust a Republican incumbent, that's huge.
Of course, yeah.
And that's just one example that just popped in my head. There are several all around the country where that's happening. That's why I'm upbeat. Some people tell me that I'm being a Pollyanna about this and that I'm, delusional. But we'll see on election day if I'm delusional or not.
The only time you've been wrong was with Trump in 2016, but everybody was. In other words, the generic congressional poll, when you poll me, Jerry Nadler's my congressperson. So am I enthusiastic? Yeah, I'm going to show up and do my patriotic duty. I don't think there are too many people in my district who can't wait to go vote for Jerry Nadler. But if I were living in this swing state...
Right, there are. There actually are. On the Upper West Side of Manhattan, that part of the district, they're very, very enthusiastic about Jerry. They feel he's been their guy. I'm not saying everyone feels that way, but there's a very significant number of people. Remember, he just kicked Carolyn Maloney's ass in the new district.
But what I understand you saying is somebody who lives in a swing district where their vote really counts and they're pro-abortion, they're going to turn out and vote this time like their life depends on it. That's
right.
That's
just another example I'll give you. Sharice Davids. The Republicans in the legislature, in the Kansas legislature, redrew her district so that she would lose. I mean, she's a Democrat. She's a conservative Democrat, but she is a Democrat. And, they just gave her a district that they said she won't win. And the Republicans are very excited, the national Republicans. They figure they'll get rid of her. Well, guess what? Every poll shows her winning. Every poll.
Kansas, of all places. In Congress, how good a job has Maloney done? He's head of the DCCC. You've talked about delighting in the fact that he may lose his own seat. How good a job?
Yes, well, let's his own seat. And,
I'm sorry?
And that would, let's hope he loses his own seat. He's really terrible. He's done an absolutely horrendous job as DCCC chair. He's also done a horrible job as a representative. And because the district south of his got a little bit more blue than his district, he just grabbed that district. He kicked Mondaire Jones, who's one of the best new members of Congress, kicked him out of his own district. So Mondaire Jones has no district now. And Maloney moved into that district. Well, guess what's happening? Maloney is who's spending ungodly amounts of money, both his own and institutional money. He's losing to a guy who has no money, and the district that he jumped out of is going Democrat.
So which
he's he deserves to lose. Some Democrats just deserve to lose. He's one of them. What he loses, I really, really hope he loses.
Tuesday night, which congressional races will you be paying special attention to? I would assume Maloney and Angelica Duenas in Los Angeles.
Well, sure. I mean, I've been doing, yes, and Angelica I'll definitely be paying attention to, but that's not of, gigantic national import. People aren't going to be thinking about that district because it's a Democrat versus Democrat district. Now, the Democrat she's running against happens to be very corrupt, happens to be conservative, and happens to be a child rapist. But other than that, it's still a Democrat. People don't care. Angelica, of course, is a progressive. She's a friend, and I want to see her win, of course. So, I'll be watching that. But nationally, that's not going to be on anyone's radar, except mine. So, but nationally, what I've said is there are a few races that are, hanging by a thread. Either the Democrat is a couple of fractions of a point leading, or the Democrat is behind by a fraction of a point. So those are the races that I think are the most important races now. And the reason I keep writing about them is because people need to donate to those people. These are races, there were races in 2020 that lost by just a handful of votes. One lost by, I think it was either 6 or 8 votes. Now imagine if you would have helped that person at the last minute, the Democrat, maybe he or she wouldn't have lost by 6 votes. 6 votes.
Right.
6.
That's
60, not 6,000. 6. I mean, sometimes a last minute donation that goes right into a program that, usually a get out the vote program, that really, really matters. So, it doesn't matter to someone who's leading by 10 points. It doesn't matter to someone who's losing by 10 points. It matters in the really, really close races. In my blogs, I've been writing about the Democrats who are very, very progressive, who are, right on the border. Like, for example, this woman who's running in Texas 15, again, where the Republicans drew the seat. They redrew the district to make it easy for a Republican to win. And then the DCCC abandoned her, just absolutely said, here's $95. Now, when I say here's $95, I'm not joking and I'm not exaggerating. That's what the DCCC gave to Michelle Vallejo, $95, whereas Kevin McCarthy's super PAC and the Republican version of the DCCC are spending millions to help a Trump fanatic. And the Democrats don't want her. They don't want her in Congress. They don't care about that district. Why? Because she's a progressive. Bernie was out in her district this weekend campaigning for her, but Maloney doesn't want her. Why doesn't Maloney not want her? Because he thinks the person who's going to be his boss, Hakeem Jeffries doesn't want her. And why does Hakeem Jeffries not want her? Because Hakeem Jeffries despises with every inch of his body progressives. Hakeem Jeffries is the worst thing that's going to happen to the Democratic Party. They're about to elect him the leader, and he will destroy the party. And I have like a thing about that where I'm thinking maybe that's what needs to happen. Maybe we need Hakeem Jeffries to destroy the party so that a progressive party come out of the ashes. In any case, it's Hakeem Jeffries plus Mark Mellman, who is the guy who does all of the political work for AIPAC. Plus, he's got his own PAC called the Democratic Majority for Israel. They spent about $500,000 trying to defeat Michelle in the primary. They failed, and now they're carrying on with Hakeem to not help her. So they're not helping her. $95 does not help. That's not help at all.
Right.
And yet Michelle is ahead by 0.7 points. There is a race that you want to put money into. She's ahead. Let's help her take it over the finish line. This is going to be a great member of Congress, right. Unlike Sean Maloney, where Democratic institutions are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then the third person who needs some. Did I give a first one? Was Michelle the first one I mentioned?
Yes.
Another person who's very, very close is in Oregon, and it's a fraction of a point. She's behind by a fraction of a point, and that is Jamie McLeod Skinner. Jamie McLeod Skinner. It's not even 1 point. It's just a fraction of a point down. She's the DCCC is helping her a little bit, but nothing like compared to what the Republicans are doing with her Trumpist opponent. So there are two. I think the third one that I would recommend to people is in Pennsylvania, where it's the Connell Lamb seat, which is just west of Pittsburgh, and it's kind of favorable, a little bit more favorable for Democrats this cycle than it was when Connell Lamb was elected. And we have a really good progressive running, Chris Deluzio, and a crazy Republican Trumpist who's opposing him. And Chris is ahead. He's ahead by about a point, depending on which poll you look at. But all the polls kind of agree he's ahead very, very narrowly. He's running against a multimillionaire who every Friday he puts another $1 million in the race. I mean, this guy can spend whatever he wants on this race, and he keeps doing it. The funny thing is he's not raising much money except his own, whereas Chris is raising some good money. But this Republican has unlimited funds. He can spend as much as he wants, and he is. But Chris is still ahead. So that's another race that's worth putting some money into. Chris is raising all of his money from small donors, and that's the reason that he's beating this multimillionaire Republican in Pennsylvania's 17th district. So if you're going to give to three people, those are three good people to give to.
Go to the Blue America PAC right now. Go to the Blue America PAC and donate. Give the three names one more time, please.
Jamie McLeod Skinner in Oregon, Chris Deluzio in Pennsylvania, and then our Texas candidate that I was recommending is Michelle Vallejo.
Right.
And if you go to Down with Tyranny, I did a more extensive explanation of her race today. So you could just go there and you could read about her, and then you could donate right from the page. That's the way to do it.
Who moves the needle, objectively speaking? Don't be biased here. When you send Nancy Pelosi out, Chuck Schumer, Bernie, AOC, Obama, I've been watching Obama in Wisconsin and Georgia. Who moves the needle when they bring out the big guns at this time of year?
First of all, Pelosi can't go anywhere and do any kind of
because she's despised.
Any kind of right. She can go into she goes into rich people's homes and does fundraising events, and she raises a lot of money. So that's why people want her, but they don't put her out publicly. They don't, like for example, Bernie did it in this weekend. Bernie was in Texas. He was in other places too, but he was in Texas. I believe, yesterday, I believe. Yes. And he went to Austin and he went to McAllen. McAllen, he went there for Michelle Vallejo, the woman I've just been talking about, and he did a big public rally. And that, I believe, will move the needle in terms of getting younger people out to vote. Also, that is a very Hispanic district, and they love Tio Bernie in those districts like that. And it's on the Rio Grande. He does very, very well there, and he will bring out more voters. He gave a very, very impassioned speech. I watched it on YouTube. It was very, very, very good. And but in terms of these establishment people that we're talking about, they don't do anything. There's no they can't do a thing.
Obama, I have to Obama was amazing.
Needle, I'm sorry. Yes. Also Michelle Obama. Both of the Obamas are very good. But I've talked with you many, many times over the last couple of years about the best political publicist in the country. Do you recall that? Anyway, she works for Mayo Pete Buttigieg, and she can get anything in the media. She is the best of the best. She's unbelievable. And she planted a story, which is absurd, in the media, that the number one most requested surrogate to come and campaign is Pete Buttigieg is number one. Mm. I mean, is that even conceivable that anyone could believe that nonsense? That someone wants Pete Buttigieg to come? Who gives a hell about Pete Buttigieg? I mean, and she's saying this on the same day that Obama is running around the country getting people insane, right. Like just absolutely screaming and loving him so much. I mean, Obama going to these states and talking in the states, what I'm afraid it does is it makes people so sorry that Biden is president. I mean, everyone who's watched Obama, we want him. He's the one we want. Right. He was, I'm not the biggest Obama fan in the world, but you have to give credit where credit is due. He's a great speaker. Really great.
Yes, and getting better and better. And, a wasted opportunity, somebody who can articulate the needs of the working class so well should follow through and appear with Christian Smalls at the Amazon Labor Union. I mean, it would be great if he were a union organizer.
Bernie does.
Yeah, but I mean, Hillary, nobody wants Hillary, right?
No, it's poison. No one wants Hillary. No one wants. I don't think people want Bill Clinton either. Or maybe they do in the South. I don't know, but they very, very much want Bernie, and they very, very much even more want the Obamas. And I don't think they want Mayo Pete. And, some people really do actually want and feel it'll help them to have Biden. But other people are saying, no, we don't want Biden in our state. We don't want Biden in our district. We don't want Biden in the newspapers. Keep him away. But, like I said, there are places all around the country that very much want Biden, where the candidates want him. He is someone who, I don't know. I mean, I've seen him doing his stump speeches, and it's kind of sad.
Well, it's not as horrible as one would expect. What about Doug Emhoff and the vice president? Do people want her?
No.
There's no groundswell for the vice president whatsoever.
No, people don't want her coming around. What does she have to offer? What does she have to offer anybody? No one wants her. I believe that people who don't know yet what he is want the governor of California, Newsom.
Right.
He's an telegenic, attractive guy. He can make a good speech. He's not really Obama, but he can still make a good speech that gets people worked up. They don't know. I mean, he speaks like a progressive, and he's a neoliberal. But people outside of California don't know he's a neoliberal, and half the people in California don't know he's a neoliberal. But that's what he is. But he gives a good speech, and people do want him. Right. But our people are doing the best they can to get Obama and Bernie. Those are the ones. Even Elizabeth Warren, I haven't seen her. She is on the road, and she is going out and talking for candidates, but I don't see any real excitement around her, which I'm sorry to say. I would love to see that. I talked with a couple of members of Congress who have been telling me about their experiences going out on the road and why it's important and what they can do. So one of them is Ted Lieu, and Ted is on the road. I think today he's in. I think today he's in Miami, working for Annette Taddeo, the Democratic candidate in Miami. And there's a few things that Ted can do. Progressives know he's good, so he can draw progressives to an event. And also Asian Americans love him, and he draws Asian Americans to an event. And he's not doing mega rallies, but he does targeted rallies that work. And he's liking doing it. And, he doesn't like being away from his family. He'd much rather be with his, young children who are still growing up. But he feels that it is important to do, and he's doing it. And there's really nothing in it for him. He's doing it because he really believes he's not doing it for every, he is, I shouldn't say he's not doing it for every Democrat. He is. He's doing it for the good ones and the bad ones. Although I think he prefers to do from what I'm hearing between the lines, he very much prefers to do them for the progressives and not so much for the conservatives, but he's doing it for the conservatives as well. He's doing it for all Democrats who ask him. Right. The other one I talked to about it is giving me a very, very similar story, and that's Adam Schiff. Adam is a very big draw. People know him from TV. And that's what means something in America. They've seen him, trying to impeach Trump, right. And people like him, and he's a celebrity, and so he draws people, and he brings in a ton of money. I mean, a ton. He is bringing in. Ted does as well, but the two of those guys from L.A. are bringing in a ton of money, not for themselves, but for Democrats running for Congress, for some incumbents who need help, and for also challengers. They're both doing a really good job.
Can you spare 5 more minutes? Because we're running long tonight. Can you give me 5 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. So we've covered the House right now. Before we turn to the Senate and the governor races that I'm interested in, what do you think going in? We're going to be a week out now. What is your gut telling you about the House tonight? Do the Democrats keep the House?
I think it's going to be very, very close. If the Democrats keep the House, it'll just be by a very, very small handful of seats, just like they have it now, just a tiny handful. And if the Republicans win the House, it'll be just a small handful of seats. A small handful of seats for Nancy Pelosi is no problem. She knows how to work with that. We've seen it. She knows how to do it. A small handful of seats for Kevin McCarthy or for Hakeem Jeffries on the Democratic side if she leaves. Now, I think I told you last week that I had a scoop and that she is leaving, right?
She is leaving. Yes, you
didn't
told
I? Didn't I tell? Yes. Didn't I? What happened?
That she's going to go to she's going to go to the Vatican, right?
No, Italy, not the Vatican. Oh, okay. She's going to be the ambassador to Italy. I mean, the Vatican would be a little bit below her.
Okay.
You send Newt Gingrich's wife to be the ambassador to the Vatican.
That's right. And she gives tips on how to blow people underneath the table.
I'm sure. Right. So I believe that Nancy would lose. However, it would go there. However, if the Democrats win the House again, there may be an upswell of demands from the Democrats in the House that Nancy stay. I think if that happens, she'll stay. But what do I know? I don't talk to her. Her people used to talk to me, and they stopped. Right. So I don't have any connection to her office anymore.
Right. So before and very quickly,
Hakeem Jeffries won't control a Democratic caucus with just a small number of votes. He can't do it. And Kevin McCarthy will be a complete pawn of Marjorie Taylor Greene if they have less than a 10 vote majority. They might as well just elect Marjorie Taylor Greene to be the speaker, because she will be running the show.
Amazing. That would be amazing. She really has that much political capital.
Absolutely. She is the most extreme and loudest, and everyone they either love her or they're afraid of her.
Politically or physically?
Politically.
Okay. Incredible. And rumors about Trump becoming speaker if they get the House, that's out of the question.
Yes, I think that I mean, who knows? I mean, God only knows. I know that he'll be nominated. I know that unless he tells Gates not to, Gates said he will nominate Trump.
Amazing. The Senate, a week out, what is your sense on the Senate?
I was thinking the Democrats were going to make some real gains in the Senate, but now it's going to be so close. I think the Democrats will come out ahead, but not by much. I think that they'll. I don't think any Democratic incumbents are going to lose, and I think that they might wind up picking up one, maybe two seats at the maximum.
You don't think the Democrats are going to lose Arizona, Nevada, New Hampshire? What about Herschel Walker?
Those are the. I think that Herschel Walker is going to lose. I'm on a limb here, but I do believe that in the end there aren't going to be, people are just going to say, I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's one thing to tell a pollster, but it's another thing to pull the ballot for the psychopath.
Right. Carrie Lake in Arizona.
I don't see any polls showing her losing. I think she's got it. I'm trying to get into the heads of the voters there, and from what I'm reading is that what they're going to do a trade-off. They're going to take her and defeat all of the Republicans who are running for statewide office. So everyone was very, very scared that crazy Fincham, who's running for Secretary of State, was going to win. He's not. He's quite down. The Democrats going to win there. And I think and also the Attorney General, I think the Democrats are going to win all the seats, all the statewide seats, except for a governor. It's a shame, but that's how we're stuck with that.
Okay. I didn't have time to ask you about Bolsonaro.
Interesting, though.
Go ahead.
What'll be interesting, though, is if she wins, which I think she will, the gubernatorial race, and then all the other Republicans lose, and they're all a bunch of radical MAGA folks. Are they going to start screaming about the election was stolen and rigged? I mean, how do they figure that out when she's the most radical lunatic who's running for governor anywhere?
Yeah.
Well, I'm snubbing Pennsylvania
and Charlie Crist's opponent. I thought Crist did good. Charlie Crist did good debating Ron DeSantis, but nothing in the polls shows that, right?
Oh, that even Charlie Crist, I think I told you this already, told a friend of mine that he's not even going to get within 10 points in the end. He'll be lucky if he gets to just 10 points below DeSantis.
You write about Bolsonaro.
He isn't really running right now with the expectation of becoming governor. What he's doing is trying to build up some kind of credibility so that he could run against Rick Scott in 2 years.
Before you go, Bolsonaro, you write about him over at Down with Tyranny. I saw that Steve...
I will bet anybody anything he will lose.
Will he concede?
I don't know if he'll concede or not, but even if whether he concedes or not, he's moving out of the version of the White House.
Okay, and finally, there are no truths to any of these rumors about Paul Pelosi that Dinesh D'Souza is spreading, and the other guy, Clay Higgins
Higgins. Higgins is very, very embarrassed. He took down the tweet.
Oh, he did,
and he can't. Yes, he took it down. He can't show his face anywhere. Then you've got also tweeting craziness is the owner of Twitter.
Yeah,
and he took his crazy tweet down also.
There's no truth to any of that stuff, right?
Right. Right.
Okay.
Zero.
Are you wishing there were?
No.
Okay.
No.
Howie Klein is the founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC, and he writes over at Down with Tyranny. Read him over at Down with Tyranny and donate to those candidates. Once again, give us the names of the 3 candidates who could use your money and will make good use of it.
Michelle Vallejo in Texas, Jamie McLeod Skinner in Oregon, and Chris DeLuzio in Pennsylvania. Let's give them a boost, please.
Yes. Follow Howie on Twitter at Down with Tyranny. Thank you, Howie.
Thanks, David. Talk to you in a couple of days.